everybody. Welcome back to what I guess is episode 2 of what I guess we're going to call the Unconventional Conservative podcast. Don't really know where that came from, but good Lord knows he already had it in motion, already had this in motion. So we're just going to keep rolling with it, and who knows, maybe this will go somewhere. I've had enough seen enough influencers over the years, creators, content, whatever you want to call it, talk about, and no, I don't have it anymore, but talk about the Piers tatted up, purple haired, is like the face of the left-wing movement. And I'm here to correct all of that just because you may have colored purple hair, piercings, and tats, you can still defy every single stereotype that they have for you. So, and just let it be even more of a driving factor for you and your conservative values, because even more so the people with purple hair and tats and piercings, they're usually pretty comfortable in their skin. So it's actually sometimes somebody you want on your side. So just saying, for future reference, you never know. But anyway, enough on that little tangent. I guess want to kind of jump back in. I actually recorded an episode yesterday, but I'm kind of really glad it didn't work out because there's been a whole lot of stuff going on in the last 24 hours and a lot of people showing their true colors into how they actually feel and what they actually think. So I'm kind of glad because, oh, and here we are again. You're going to hear it in this episode, at least for the first couple of minutes, because I forgot my fan is still on. So I'll be right back. All right. Now maybe we can maybe next time, and I told myself the whole time I was walking to my little setup down here, I literally kept telling myself, Alex, don't forget like yesterday to turn that fan off, because you may not think it's loud, but this mic thinks it's loud. So it may not be the greatest mic ever, but she picks up on the box fan. So we got to make sure we turn that off. So sorry for the first few minutes. If you hear the fan going off in the background, just disregard that, because even when I remove the background noise, it's still going to be there. But anyway, enough of a distraction, I guess. Satan, go away. But so we can get this show going, this video going. But anyway, I forgot the box fan on yesterday, so I recorded that entire episode video. You have it, and the box fan is in the background. No matter how hard I worked on that background noise, the box fan was still there. And that wasn't a big deal, but that's all you could hear. That's all you could hear, and so that's not what I want you to hear. So we're just going to re-record it, and I'm kind of glad we did, because like I said, a whole bunch of stuff happened in the last 24 hours. A lot of people starting to show their true colors, and then we had President Donald Trump dropping the F-bomb, and the greatest thing in presidential history, the perfect time. If you ever want to know if there's a time and place that you can use that word, it was perfect. Chef's kiss. Perfect. I commend you, Donald Trump. You should have been in the running for the Nobel Peace Prize long ago, but if the whole ceasefire thing and that's going on with Israel and Iran, if that didn't get you, dropping the F-bomb at the perfect time should award you the Nobel Peace Prize, in my opinion, regardless of anything else. So we had all of these things happen. Then you had Candace Owens go on Piers Morgan and, like, y'all, girl has fell off the rocker And the rocker has literally been like rocking back and forth on top of her, because, girl, I don't know what is going on. It went from, I support, she was one of us, to now it's like, you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy, if you know what I mean. So we starting to see true colors around here. And I thought for the longest time, I kept honestly getting mad at myself, because I would see all these, especially females, I would see all these females getting big on social media and YouTube and all these different outlets based on their like political views and their conservative political views. And it was like, man, I really missed my mark on this. But, the Lord had me reading in Esther this morning. And I really think, I don't know the bigger picture, obviously, but I have full confidence in God that it's going to work out just fine. It's going to work out just fine. It's going to work out just fine. And so who knows? This may never go anywhere. There may be only my mama's friends who support me and who encourage me to keep going. But you know what? That's all you need. That's all you need. You just need a little bit of encouragement. And even in the Bible, it says the young women need to learn from the old women and vice versa. I know I'm paraphrasing that, but we got to learn from each other. We got to learn these things. We got to be there for each other. So if the only support I get is from my mama's baby boomer friends, bring it on. I love y'all. You know I love you. I love you. And I know I could call you at 3 a.m. and you be there for me. You may give me an earful while you coming to get me, but they gonna be there every time. And that's what I love. Everybody trying to harp on these baby boomers, but there's some good people. There's a lot you can learn. It's a lot you can learn when you've been raised from nothing. But anyway, so I guess, Candace was on Piers. You had Trump dropping the F-bomb but since that has happened, Israel and Iran have actually stuck to the ceasefire. So maybe sometimes you do actually just have to put your foot down like a parent and discipline your child. Because, we don't... battery ran out, so I had to change it real quick. But I guess back to what we were really talking about is between Trump, though, the ceasefire actually is being agreed to at this moment. But yet you still have all this, basically all the media outlets other than like your one-offs or like even Fox, all these places or all these media outlets that are literally using this as a propaganda speech or propaganda outlet. Doing everything they can that, it wasn't actually destroyed, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, he's trying to start World War III, all these things, and yet the ceasefire is being agreed to as of this moment. Things change. You don't know how a human's going to react, how a human's going to do something, but you have to take the actions that sometimes everybody may not like, but sometimes they're necessary. And this group of people that have been in power for 40 plus years has terrorized, killed, tortured, murdered more Americans, more people than any other regime ever. Obviously, if you go back in time, there's way more. But in like modern society. So why are we going to allow them to enrich 60% of their uranium and have nuclear facilities putting together the nuclear weapon to what? So they can just have it on hand just in case they ever get too pissed off that, and they don't like them, so they're screaming death to America. And I know y'all think, it really doesn't mean death to America. That's not really what they mean. But we're going to give the people who are shouting this, we're going to give them nuclear capabilities? No, I don't think so. And why is it you have people like the Candace Owens, Matt Walsh, Tucker Carlson, all of these people who have been, and I know Tucker's not a conservative, and then Candace probably won't even consider herself a conservative. She can't, because she ain't. And then people like Matt Walsh, who have literally built their entire platform on being like a Teddy Roosevelt type conservative, wearing his flannel, all these things, having us all convinced that all his children do is just whittle with sticks all day and run in the prairie as they pick wildflowers for mama when she's milking the goat. Like, we all know, and then come to find out you actually have to pry the iPad out of your kids' hands. But you have all of these conservative big people who have names, followers behind, millions of followers, built platforms on being conservative or right-winged, and yet they are just willy-nilly going with the flow, disagreeing with what did Candace quote? Let's find out what she quoted. What was it? That Trump was a chronic disappointment so far. Chronic disappointment so far. So there's always been issues in the Middle East. As far back as the flipping BC times, you have Esther in the Bible, which was what, in the 400 BC? BC, remember, BC, so like cavemen days. Caveman, like, they'll just kill to kill. You have Esther, who even during that time, the reason it was such a big deal is because the Persians were out to kill all of the Jews. Not just some, all to eradicate all of the Jews. So getting rid of the Jews has been here literally since biblical time. And there's a reason for that. And it's not a surface level, skin deep reason. It is a spiritual, other world reason that we have no clue about. So you have been fighting for thousands of years, even back into Esther. The reason Esther was chosen for a time as this is because the Persians were out to kill all of the Jews. All of them. And if it wasn't for Esther willing to stand up for those people, even though everybody thought it was wrong, they had everybody on board. Everybody was on board to get rid of the Jews. And you had one person who was willing to stand up and not let that happen, even though she was going to be the crazy one. So the fighting between these two groups of people have always been there. And who is it? I'm not God. So all of these conservative media outlets, conservative people that have now been like, you know what, it's America first. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that. Blah, blah, blah. God doesn't actually mean protecting the people of Israel. He doesn't actually mean that. Last I checked, are you God? I'm not. I don't have that capability. If I'm left to myself without God, I screw it up big time. We all do. We're all seeing the mess that's happening when there's no God present, when He has left the people to themselves. He's still there, but if you reject Him long enough, He will allow you to live in that rejection. He will allow it to happen. So if this fighting between these two groups of people has been happening all throughout history, Who's to say that God doesn't actually mean protecting the Jews, protecting Israel, protecting his people? Yes, we are all in the new covenant of Christ. We are all Israel. We are all his children. But in the old covenant, Israel is a people. It is a place. It is a people. But it's not my job. It's not my knowledge and my wisdom to know if God really means the people or the place. That is not my place. So if you have people like Candace Owens, who automatically, soon as she got on Piers Morgan, she was already had her defense up. She was ready to attack. She was in full-on attack mode. I don't know if it's if she got some PPD up in there. I don't know what it is, but girl has lost it. And she went on Piers. Piers is literally completely calm the entire time. And you had Candace Owens literally sounding, you know what she sounded like? This is what I told my husband. She sounded like a car going down the road that has its exhaust cut off. I don't know if you've ever experienced or heard like a little four-banger car. If you have ever heard what those sound like with the exhaust cut off, it sounds like a pissed off bumblebee that just doesn't stop. It's monotonous. It doesn't stop. And that's what I felt like when I was watching Candace just keep going last night. She was on Pierce's show. Pierce would ask her questions. She would literally just, I don't know, literally, you can't take the boy out of the country kind of acting like it. You know what I mean? And it's just like, girl, calm down. Back it on up. And then, even through all of that emotional outrage she had, and then even when she was pursing her lips, like that was her way of showing like, oh, I've got to keep my mouth shut right now because I've got so much to say, but I'm respecting him enough to have his floor. We know, like, it's not cute, it's not sly, it's not slick. And then to end it all with, you would rather your boys be in prison than to fight for Israel? Are you serious? Not only is that racist, 100%, like, are you serious? You would rather your boys go to prison than to fight for Israel. So you're going to play God? You're going to depict what God means by that? So if you turn your back, do you really know the outcome of that? No. So while we're over here on our high horse, let's remember the pride before the fall. Let's remember that. Because while you're over here saying, I'd rather my boys go to prison than fight for Israel, during your emotional outrage, that comes back. That comes back hard. And it just sounds wrong. It just sounds icky. It gives me an icky feeling. It sounds just so wrong. And you have these men or women, I don't know, and hopefully we never find out who the ones were flying the B-52 bomber planes or whatever. Honestly, I can't remember the A's and the B's and the C's and the numbers. I can't remember if I'm saying the number right. You know what I'm talking about. The ones that dropped the B-2s. These men and women, whoever they are, thank you. Thank you, because I know no one else is commending you guys, and I wish, if it wouldn't threaten your lives and livelihood, I wish all of y'all could receive the Nobel Peace Prize, because that y'all pulled off is unlike anything that we've ever seen. And then on top of that, come to find out, they've been working on this exact mission for over 15 years. So before Trump was ever even in office or ever even sniffed office, this mission had been practiced thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times before it ever they even knew it was going to happen, but they've been practicing it. You know, like on the Top Gun, the Maverick one, they all got chosen because they had an exact mission that had to be carried out. And that's what happened. And these people, these pilots who flew these planes, probably ever since they were little kids, little boys, little girls, whoever they are, ever since they were little kids, they were running around the living room, flying their little airplanes through the sky or through the air, just imagining, dreaming about the day that they may get to fly an airplane or be a bomber pilot or have all these dreams and aspirations, finally get to do that. And yet you're going to have all these conservative media outlets coming out here and bashing the entire thing. So not only are you bashing it, but you're bashing the pilots, and you're bashing the entire U.S. military. You're bashing us as a country. So where you have this attitude of America first, America this, America that, blah, 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 you're literally turning your back on the American servicemen and women who carried out this incredible task that no other military force in the world could ever even think about doing. And yet you're going to go out there with your emotional outrage thinking you know everything. No, because you called out Macron, you did all this, there's all these things you think you've done. When it's just, it's ego. You came on there, like, everybody, like, becoming this arrogant know-it-all, like, I know this is right, this isn't, we shouldn't be doing this, we shouldn't be getting involved in these affairs. But I don't know if y'all realize, Satan, we are flesh people that are battling in an unseen spiritual world every single day. Even our good old friend Tucker Carlson recognized that in one of his episodes. I can't even tell you when it was, but he even talked about, I think it was the one with, what's his face from the country group, when he did that episode with, what's his face? Of course, my mind's going to go blank now. But he even talked about and agreed to, I can't remember if he said it, or John Rich, yeah. I can't remember if John said it or if Tucker said it. But if Tucker didn't say it, he agreed to it, because I even said, you know what, I like Tucker. If he sees that, maybe he is actually on something. Maybe he isn't a phony. But he agreed to the fact that, and he understood that we are in a battle of good and evil every single day. Good and evil, life and death, whatever you call it. We are in that battle every single day. Yes, it looks like it's just people bombing, doing this, doing that, killing, all these kinds of things. But it's because it's a spiritual war that we're not seeing. You know, like in Lord of the Rings, when Frodo, he puts the ring on and he can see the evil entities that are trying to kill him and trying to get the ring from him, get that power, that exact power they want, because they know that that ring holds the power that actually controls everything. But he only sees it when he has the ring on. But that's the battle we're in every single day. It is a battle of good and evil. It is a battle of life and death. And like Glenn Beck said on Piers yesterday, when God said, choose life. There's life and there's death. Choose life. And I know everybody tried to say that Matt Walsh is the Rush Limbaugh of our generation, blah, blah, blah. No. Do not disrespect and dishonor that man in that way. Because if Matt Walsh was actually the Rush Limbaugh of our generation, he would have personally called Trump at 2 a.m. when everything took place, and he would have personally commended him on being able to have the cojones enough to follow through because it's needed to be done. Every president since at least Clinton and before, probably even before that, since the 80s, they have known these people need to not be in power. They need to be out of power. There has needed to be a regime change for 45 years. And so, no, do not disrespect Rush Limbaugh in that way and call him Matt Walsh the one of our generation. Not even close. Because Matt Walsh, not only is he America first and blah, 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 but he freaking bent his knee a while back, long time ago, when he got demonetized on YouTube. And it was demonetized for a little while. And I guess either the Daily Wire or whoever, basically YouTube came to them and was like, nah, if you'll show your support, then you can be remonetized. And apparently they agreed to it, because from then on out, I can't remember exactly what happened first, but the big thing that stood out to me was his opening video to the Matt Walsh show. The opening credit, and take it back now, because they've changed it now. I guess it's been long enough they can get by with it. But for a while, when he was walking across the road, they purposely put in a rainbow road that he was walking over. And then he had a tie-dye alien from something, I can't remember, but they took a clip from him with that, holding that alien, and it's kind of like taking part of a Bible verse and wrapping a whole religion around it and saying it's right. You take it out of context, and that alien on the thing, it was taken out of context completely, kind of like when they used to throw the popcorn and Coke on the movie screen, but you didn't know it. It was like a subliminal thing. And they put that alien clip in there and left it as that. And so, no, he never really apologized, but he bent his knee. Yes, he did. And that was the big thing, really. But there's been several small things here and there about my favorite was, so my husband resells cars, breaks cars down, does all this kind of stuff. And there's a car shop not even 0.2 of a mile away from us. Literally, you go out on driveway, you don't even get out of the turning lane before you get there. The other day, my husband went to go take an old Chevy truck that he's getting redone. And he went to take it over there, and he was just going to walk back. That's how close we live. And I ended up leaving behind him and going over there in the van. And I was just going to stay in the driver's seat because I was like, maybe, you know what? We're just going literally right down the hill. Literally right down the hill. Maybe he won't care. He starts walking out of that building. He makes eye contact with me, and he literally goes, and I knew exactly what that meant. It meant he's driving. Because you know why? Because in his man code, and apparently Matt Walsh's man code, the man drives. So when you tell the story about your wife had just gotten in the driver's seat and if you happened to run into a fan at a gas station and they actually saw you sitting in the passenger seat and all this kind of stuff, when in reality, your wife drives more than partly what you let on. And then you had us all fooled, and you're going to say, well, I never claimed that. Why would you ever think? I've never claimed that, so that's a false accusation in the first place. But when you wear your, Paul Bunyan flannel and, talk about your fishing adventures and that your wife gets all these farm animals, they homeschool, all these things, you know exactly the picture you're painting. So he had the picture painted that all his kids do is whittle with sticks, and yet that's not the case at all. And then on top of that, it's just, you can my husband is one of his, watches him every day, has watched him every day since he's been in the car, since he's been doing those videos, and watches him every single day. And I watched you for a while. I watched him for a while. But it was slowly over time, these little small things would pop up and he would say, and it's like, I can smell phony even through the TV. And it just kind of comes across as a little phony. You know, when it gets a little confusing and all of a sudden it's like, Trump made a bad call on that one. Trump made a bad call on that one. America first. America first. That is the most unchristian, unJesus-like thing I've ever, well, not ever heard, because Candace had you beat off Piers' show yesterday. Has you way beat. But the fact that you would literally just America first and we have no reason to be involved in their affairs and we don't really need to defend Israel, all this kind of stuff. You thought you were right when Israel then turned around and waylaid Iran and in the jaw. And it's just, you know, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I've sniffed it for a while, but I feel like you know, when you step in a good fresh pile of dirt. You know, when you step in a big fresh pile of dog turds? That's what I'm smelling. Like, I still am feeling the steam off of it, if you know what I mean. Like, it hasn't had time to even, still steamy, still got that green smoke coming off of it. That's the amount of phony I smell from a lot of these people. And it's honestly, it's just sad. Because it's like, as soon as it gets a little confusing, looks a little, I don't know, little not right, a little, like, that should be done. Y'all literally just turn your back completely. And to me, that's how you can tell it's even more of a biblical, I'm not saying we're in the end times, like, we don't know. But he's coming back at some point, so it's not going to be forever. We know he's coming back. But the fact that you have all of these Christian conservative outlets who are just nonchalantly, here's 3 pieces of silver or 10 pieces of silver. Here you go. This is where he's at. He's in the garden. He's out there with his men. You know what I mean? It's that kind of backstabbing. And it's just like, dude, what are you, come on. This is like a Judas thing. Like, stand up. And just like I was talking about yesterday, or actually the day before, like, being a spineless Christian, like, get in your word, get in your Bible, and start learning these things. Start putting the pieces together. History repeats itself, and history is going to repeat itself because we're still human. We haven't morphed into some other creature. So since the beginning of time, or beginning of man in the garden, we keep falling. We keep falling. We'll get a little bit better. We turn our back. It's all throughout history, and history is going to keep repeating itself. Because we're still human, and we're going to keep repeating the human spiral or human circle until Jesus comes back. And the closer I feel like we're getting to Jesus coming back, the more detailed the repeating of the history gets. So the last time we were really during the whole like anti-Jew movement, which I guess you could say was probably the Holocaust, the Nazis, Germany, all that, is when it was really ramped up this last time. And leading up to it, you can see the same things happening in different places, different situations, different whatever. But the difference now is back in the 40s, we didn't have internet, social media, cell phones, all this stuff to where we're able to reach the rest of the world just like that. And that's the big difference to me, is Satan is able to get his idea across way faster and is able to corrupt way more people because of this device or this internet in our hands. So like internet can be used for good, but we weren't able to relay those messages that fast back in the 40s or even the 90s, whatever. You weren't able to relay all these messages as fast. So like if it was happening in Germany, it could be months before anywhere like the US finds out, because there was nothing attaching everybody. And now, good, bad, ugly, and different, people are able to find out and spread false information, truthful information, propaganda, agendas. They're able to spread and do whatever they want on a larger scale, on a bigger scale than ever before, because of the capabilities of everybody being connected. So whether you want to agree with it or not, we're all connected by all being human. And we're all connected because socially, we're literally all connected. So it's like America first, this or that. But if you've got half your subscribers are from another part of the world and they're basically helping support you, then how do you turn your back on that? So I don't understand. That's just, I know I went on another tangent, but it's just, to me, you can see even more of a spiritualness, a biblical battle that's happening, rather than just being like people are fighting. And I know it's always a bigger picture than what we know, but the fact that people are willingly going against, like, that's not what God means. The fact that people are willingly doing that and willingly betraying what is going on because in their opinion it's wrong, it goes to show even more how biblical this is, and even more of a choose life, choose death kind of thing. And so I guess at the end of the day, like I'll keep saying, you've got to just keep seeking the Lord, seeking Him, and He's going to direct your path every single time. And if you haven't, then on a personal scale or a personal level, then He will. I know it may still seem confusing, and then even after you feel like you are a follower of Jesus, but I still feel just as confused. Let Him work in you. Let Him rid you of all of your crosses and your things. You're gonna have to carry that cross, but on a personal scale, on a every single day kind of scale, just if you haven't, I promise you He's there, and I promise He's never going to leave you nor forsake you. It may feel like you've been walking 10, 12, 40 years by yourself, but I can tell you from personal experience what He will lead you through if you will let Him. It will be dark. It will be dark. It will be lonely. It will suck. It'll seem unfair. But on the other end of that, I'm telling you, it is something you can't even describe. You can't even explain. When somebody asks you, I can only say Jesus, because He's the only one who could have brought me from the place I was out of darkness and into His marvelous light. He's the only one that can do that. So if you feel like you're in a dark, dark, dark place, I promise you, just call out to Him. Just scream out to Him and be as open and honest and transparent. And if you got to say some cuss words, I promise you, just like Donald Trump, it'll be okay, because sometimes the Lord already knows, but sometimes, like, I've said some curse words in my prayer. And why? I think it's because Jesus wants the ugly. He wants you to be as honest as possible. And sometimes It's not pretty, but that's okay because he's going to work that out in you every single time. It is out of darkness and into his marvelous light. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to just seek him, follow him, let him direct your path, ask for wisdom and knowledge, and I promise you he will bless you with more than you can ever even imagine. Because right now in the times we're in, whether it's end times, whatever times you want to call it, we're in a place where we need him. We always need him, but we need him. And so whether it's at a place where he's letting us we've been begging for that depravity for all this time, and he may have handed us over to our depravity, but it's not a hate. It's a love you can't even understand, because as a good parent, as a parent who loves their children, you will discipline them. And sometimes you have to be the bad guy. Sometimes it's not about being their best friend. It's not about being liked a lot of times, most of the time. It's about knowing these kids you're raising, they're going to be adults one day. They're going to be part of another generation that is going to be keeping whatever going. So it's okay to not be their best friend all the time. It's okay to be honest with them. It's okay to let them in on the truth. But all in all, just seek Jesus. That's all I can say. And I hope and pray that we can talk more on this channel. We can talk more about what it means to seek God and who God is. We will come more to that as days go on. But for right now, and I hope I didn't bore y'all too much. I hope I didn't go off on too many tangents. And I hope I probably didn't even cover half the stuff I wanted to cover because I'm so ADD half the time. I wouldn't even call it ADD. I'm right-brained, and so my brain is just all the time, and trying to get it to settle down is almost next to impossible. So bear with me, guys, until we kind of really figure out what it is we're doing. But thanks for coming on for the ride again. I hope we'll be back again. I'll probably going to try to do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Because with doing hair and being mama, and we also do Mardi Gras costumes, and that'll be starting here soon, and just different things. Trying to do this every day may not be so possible, but we're going to try to do it at least a few days a week. Who knows? We may start doing it every day if time allows, especially after summer ends. But yeah, but thanks again, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. But if you could, then just do all the things you know you're supposed to do. Like, subscribe, comment on the video, share the video. Do all the things you're supposed to do so we can get this show up in the algorithms. We can get really the ball rolling. And it's not even the fact about getting even monetized. I just want people to have an actual conservative female that's based in biblical truth. We're seeking Jesus. Sometimes it's not so pretty, because most of the time it's not so pretty. So, like, we're going to be honest here. But it's going to be a whole lot of love. So I hope y'all come along. And again, just subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications. Turn on that little bell up in the corner. And I will see you guys on the flippity flip. And don't forget, be kind and rewind. Bye.